to address each of the three sections. The first section relates to the events of 5 and 6 March, where there was a mad rush to get the invoices paid. The second section deals with the events of 4 April, where there was another mad rush to pay the one outstanding invoice that related to a previous financial year. And the third and last relates to the events of 26 June, when the provision of ad hoc security services is terminated. So I'd like you not to deal with later events when we're dealing with the earlier events. You'll get the opportunity to do that. And to start on the events of 5 March, for the most part, I'm just interested in the structure of the communications. So what I want to do is I want to take you through the full set of communications between yourself and General Dlamini that are mediated through Sgt Nkosi, and I want to take you through them all first, and then I will be asking you questions. And for the purposes of this process, you really need to have files 3 and 4 open simultaneously, because you're going to be communicating with Sgt Nkosi in file 3, and then Sgt Nkosi is going to be communicating with General Dlamini in file 4. And the starting point, I suppose the starting point is the version in your statement, which you address at page 31 of your statement. So before we get to the file, to the actual chats, let's look at what you say in the statement. Page 31, paragraph 125, you say that Sgt Nkosi overheard a telephone conversation between me and Mr. Calvin Mahlangu, during which he complained about the city owing his company a significant amount in outstanding payments. He indicated that legal action against the city was being contemplated should the matter remain unresolved. And then you describe the previous correspondence going all the way and what you communicated to Mr. Mahlangu. But the first question I want to ask is, that conversation, when did it take place? Was it on the day when there was this mad rush to get the invoices paid, or was it earlier?
It was not on the day. When Mr. Calvin Mahlangu called me, it was in the early days of March.
On the 3rd of March?
The early days of March.
Early days of March, so it was before the 5th?
Before the 5th.
Yes. So Sgt Nkosi overhears you speaking to Mr. Mahlangu sometime before the 5th of March, a few days before the 5th of March.
Yes.
Right. What you say then is that following the call, I think we go down to page 33, Sgt Nkosi, as I discovered subsequently, took it upon himself to assist as he knew Deputy Chief Mr. Umashi Dlamini of the TMPD, 132. Now, when did you discover that Sgt Nkosi had taken it upon himself?
So while we were driving, he went on a call and he called Deputy Chief Dlamini, and he gave me the phone. That's when I had identified that he had given him a call already.
Sorry. So you're driving with Sgt Nkosi on the 3rd of March, or early days of March, and he overhears a call from Mr. Mahlangu to you.
Yes.
A few days later, you're driving with him again, and you overhear him calling Deputy Chief Dlamini.
No, Essie, that's incorrect. On the same day, while I was wrapping up my call with Mr. Calvin Mahlangu, Sgt Nkosi calls Deputy Chief Dlamini on the same day.
So, when you say in 132, following the call, Sgt Nkosi clearly, as I discovered subsequently, took it upon himself to assist as he knew Deputy Chief. But in fact, it wasn't, you didn't discover this subsequently, you discovered it on the same day.
Yes, it was subsequent to my call with Mr. Calvin Mahlangu. It was on the same day. Subsequently does not mean another day, you see.
Yes, but you say, as I discovered subsequently. There was no discovery, it was happening right in front of your eyes, or ears in this case.
It was happening while I was concluding on my phone as well. So I wasn't really concentrating on what he was doing. I was concentrating on wrapping up what I was doing.
Okay, so while you're speaking to Mr. Mahlangu, Sgt Nkosi is speaking to Deputy Chief Dlamini.
Yes.
And that's on the 2nd or 3rd of March, a few days before the 5th.
Yes.
Now, what we then see is the texts, which start on page 141 in file 3, and at the same time have page 503 open on, well, it will be 427 and 503 as we jump through file 4. So on the 5th of March, towards the foot of page 141 at 9:38, you message Sgt Nkosi saying, is the general winning?
Yes.
Now this is at least 2 days after you have had the call from Mr. Mahlangu.
Yes.
And you understand what the issue is.
Yes.
Now, you're asking Sgt Nkosi, is the general winning? So you know he is engaging with the general.
Yes.
How did you know that?
On the day when he called Deputy Chief Dlamini, he handed me the phone. I spoke to the Deputy Chief Dlamini. I expressed to him the concerns on the call that I just received. He said he was not aware of this matter. However, he will look into it accordingly. Then I requested you will then give advice, and the call ended.
But this is a Tshwane. Presumably, he gives advice to you as the CFO.
Yes.
So why is Sgt Nkosi staying involved in this 2 days later?
So at this point, after the call had been made, Sgt Nkosi was already involved. So from my perspective, it was convenient for him, taking into account that I was busy with other strategic matters as well. So one operational matter off my table would be easier for me to focus on the strategic nature of my job. In hindsight, I did admit that at this point, I should have requested for the contact details of Deputy Chief Dlamini.
So you effectively used Sgt Nkosi as your representative in dealing with Deputy Chief Dlamini on this issue on the 5th of March?
Because he was already involved and I knew they were close to each other, I asked him for feedback. I wasn't necessarily using him as an official representative. That's too formal, and it's as if I was formalizing this. It was still informal in nature. I took advantage on the convenience for me because I could then focus on other essential work that I was to do.
So this was just an issue of convenience. Sgt Nkosi was offering to do part of your job at the city.
It was an issue of convenience, but it's not Sgt Nkosi doing part of my job.
Well, what is he doing?
He's coordinating a message between myself and Deputy Chief Dlamini.
But why can't you just deal with Chief Dlamini directly?
As I alluded to, in hindsight, I should have done that. And that's the point where I should have obtained his contact details. I would have then dealt with him directly. Unfortunately, at this point in time, I didn't do that. And I took advantage of the convenience that I'm alluding to now.
Can I just ask, sorry, Mr. Chaskason, I might have missed what you said, Mr. Mnisi. Before you sent this message, is the general winning, between this and when you received the call from Calvin Mahlangu in the car, did you speak to General Dlamini about this at all?
In fact, me bringing up this as a reminder, I had received a call from Mr. Mahlangu again in the morning. It was the 5th. He had called me earlier in March. There was presumably nothing that was proceeding. He called me in the morning. Hence, I requested Sgt Nkosi. Is the general winning? What prompted me to send this message was me receiving a call from the service provider requesting for feedback.
Yes, my question was, did you speak to General Dlamini? So you got the first call from Mr. Mahlangu, you say, the very first time he calls you.
Yes.
My question is, after you got that call and before you asked Sgt Nkosi whether the general is winning, in that intervening period, did you speak to General Dlamini about this inquiry from Mahlangu?
Yes, Sgt Nkosi handed me the phone. While we were driving, just as I was about to conclude my discussions with Mr. Calvin Mahlangu, Sgt Nkosi was already phoning the deputy chief. At that point, he gave me his phone and I spoke to the deputy chief.
I see, thank you.
Can you just clarify this afternoon, Mr. Mnisi? You just said a few minutes ago, Sgt Nkosi getting involved was one operational issue off your table.
Yes.
What does that mean? Have you delegated an operational issue to Sgt Nkosi?
No, I have not delegated.
So what do you mean when you say him getting involved is one operational issue off your table? Because it suggests to me it's an operational issue you had to deal with, but now Sgt Nkosi was dealing with it. Correct?
So what I mean, and I said, it was convenience. The only reason I asked Sgt Nkosi to send the communications to the Deputy Chief Dlamini was an element of convenience for me. In hindsight, I would have done that directly with the Deputy Chief Dlamini. I was not delegating anything to Sgt Nkosi. He's not an official of the city. He can't in no way have any delegations to deal with any matters.
I'm concerned with what you mean when you say it's one operational issue off your table because Nkosi is now dealing with it, which is what you said, and you confirmed that that's what you said. Let me go back. An operational issue is something that you, as CFO, have had to deal with, correct?
Correct.
And now Nkosi was dealing with it.
He was not actively dealing in the matter. He was Deputy Chief Dlamini was dealing with the matter, actively. The individual who was actively dealing with the matter, analyzing documentation is the Deputy Chief Dlamini. Nkosi was not actively dealing with the matter. Nkosi was the individual who was sending the message on my behalf. He was not actively dealing with this. He didn't even have the details of what was going on in this. I used this as an element of convenience for myself.
So he was inactively dealing with the matter because you deliberately chose the word actively. Are you saying he was inactively dealing with the matter?
I'll say he was, but not on delegation as a means of convenience.
Thank you.
That convenience, Mr. Mnisi, you accept you would have been dealing with it otherwise. So you would have been communicating with General Dlamini if Nkosi had not inserted himself or been inserted by you to be the go-between.
In hindsight, I accept that.
Okay, thank you.
But I'm still not really understanding why it's convenient. If you deal with it yourself, you speak to General Dlamini or Deputy Chief Dlamini, you tell him what needs to be done, he comes back to you. This way, what happens is you speak to Sgt Nkosi. Sgt Nkosi then conveys your message to Deputy Chief Dlamini. Deputy Chief Dlamini responds to Sgt Nkosi. Sgt Nkosi then conveys Deputy Chief Dlamini's message to you. What's convenient about that process?
Like I said, ideally I should have got the contact details of the Deputy Chief. I didn't have his details at this point in time. He didn't have my details as well, obviously. Even if you look at what Sgt Nkosi was doing, was just sending those messages verbatim as they were. So it was convenient for me because the matter was being attended to. But in hindsight, I do agree that I should have got his numbers directly and had the communications with him initially from the matter, when the matter was raised. Chair.
But I'm still not understanding why it would be convenient. This seems to be much more complicated, with much more potential for a sort of broken chain of communication, then you're dealing with him directly. What's your response to that?
I didn't have his contact details at this point, Chair. This is why I didn't deal with him directly.
Yes, but Sgt Nkosi did, and you could have asked Sgt
I should have
Nkosi.
asked it, and I agreed. I should have asked for them, but I didn't ask for them for my thought process of saying it's just convenient for me. While I'm busy in other engagement, I could easily check, is General winning with this matter? So at that point in time, it was convenient for me. I didn't have his contact details, which is what limited me from dealing with him directly. I should have had that, Chair. I do agree to that. In hindsight, it's something I should have done to avoid this entire complication.
How long had you been at the city by this point?
Since November 2023.
So it's about 16, 17 months already. And you didn't have the contact details of the deputy head of the TMPD?
No. I normally engage the chief of police.
And you don't have a central directory available for senior executives at Tshwane?
That gives cell phone numbers, no.
You do not have administrative staff in your office,
We do have.
so you have a PA,
I do have a PA.
and you didn't think the PA should deal with this and communicate with the general with General Dlamini instead of an outsider who's really a member of the public for all intents and purposes.
At this point in time, it didn't cross my mind, Chair.
Okay.
But in hindsight, I should have.
Well, let's just quickly run through these messages. 141, you say, is the general winning. That's at 9:38. The response by Sgt Nkosi is at 9:46. Morning, my brother, I'm on to him. Then if we go to 503 of file 4, you see that there's a screenshot then that Sgt Nkosi sends to the general of your conversation.
503 of file 4 on my side is a transcript. So I've got bundle 3 open.
Bundle 3, or 503 of bundle 3, which is, I think, file 4, unless I've got the,
Okay.
so it's your bundle 3.
So
So we'll just be dealing with bundle 3.
Same document.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 503 is a screenshot that was sent to Sgt Nkosi at 9:46 was sent to General Dlamini at 9:46 by Sgt Nkosi. It's a screenshot of your conversation with him. He then comes back to you at 9:48 saying he confirmed it will be sorted now. Now he will give feedback soon before 12. That is at 9:48. At 9:55, you tell Sgt Nkosi, okay, it's not yet in my system, and he sends you an image of fingers crossed. That's at 10:07. Before he sends you the image of fingers crossed, he's WhatsApped your subsequent exchanges to General Dlamini. That's at 5:04. So now there's a similar screenshot, except it now includes your message, okay, it's not in my system. Back to 143, and Sgt Nkosi tells you that the general said he won't disappoint. You say to him, thanks Mfowethu, at 10:11, and then at 12:20, and for this we've got to go to 427, General Dlamini sends him a message. That's page 427, 12:20. Morning, Captain. Please confirm for Mfowethu Ukuthi I am processing the issue, and I have spoken to Kane and Vusi also to increase the target value as the amount is a bit higher, and as soon as all of them are released, I will let you know for his intervention to ensure that Tommy makes payment urgently. Now, Kane, we've learnt is Kane Mpofu, who is in the procurement department of Tshwane. Vusi, who is Vusi?
He's an official of the city within procurement as well.
Also within procurement.
Yes.
And Tommy, I think you mentioned earlier, was in charge of payments.
Payments.
In your department.
In treasury.
In Treasury.
Yes.
Are you, is
Still
Treasury-
within, still
is-
within Group Financial Services.
Yeah, so
Yes.
he's under you, Tommy.
He's under me, yes.
Now, what does he mean? Increase the target value.
Okay. So budget is made available to departments either monthly or quarterly. So at this point in time, the budget that was made available for TMPD and Watchman services had depleted for the quarter in question. So they needed to make a motivation in order to increase the target amount based on